Okay. So we got 6 yards that we're requeening real late this year, mid-September. And we're doing a little bit different routine here than we normally do. These queens are meant for a research project, and we really, really, really want to get them accepted. So what we have been doing is coming in, finding the old queens and removing them or killing them, whatever we're doing with them. We saved a few of them actually. And then we put a caged queen with, show me that little pink thing, that little pink cap. Putting it, you can buy these caps for a JZBZ queen cage, and you can cap over the candy and the bees can't get the queen out. And we just left her there for 5 days. And now today we're back to seek out queen cells, because the majority of these colonies will actually make queen cells even though you've got a caged queen in there. And if those cells are left alone, not every colony, but some will actually let those cells mature and hatch. And that is how you may have gotten a queen accepted, but she ends up disappearing after a short while because the virgin queen hatches and takes her out. As you can see right there, this one has built a few queen cells. I like seeing all that yellow pollen in there. They're starting to switch from wing stem over to goldenrod now, so we're going to start seeing pollen that's not quite as bright a yellow. The other thing we have to look for is eggs. I actually, in the last yard, I found a colony that had eggs in it. There was 2 queens in there. You find one queen and remove her, and think you're done. And then you end up having eggs if you had 2 queens in there. And it happens more than people think. I've read literature that said it happens 5 or 10% of the time. I do not believe that. What we're doing right now kind of proves it. We've gone through, oh gosh, a lot of colonies and only found one that had eggs in it. So it's not common, but it does happen. So we watch for eggs, kill the cells, and then we will put the queen cage back and with the cap removed and let them eat their way through the candy. Now, because it's been 5 days, we could even just release her straight, which would work 90-something% of the time. But again, we're trying to get very high percentage of take here, so we'll just put the cage back and let them release her. And because we have this 1¼ inch rim on top, we don't have to put the queen cage down in the comb. It's still warm enough that she can just sit kind of close to the top, and they'll take care of her. Yeah, that's good enough, as long as they can get to the candy, and they'll keep her nice and warm up there. Couldn't do that in the early spring when it's cold. And then the other thing we do is we feed enough to not just stimulate them, but to kind of gorge the bees. Giving them a little probiotics too, of course. We're doing that at least once a month right now. And then if we fill the feeder, although this one was really full of honey, wasn't it? So maybe a half a feeder, and give them something to do besides worry about the queen. Gorged bees will always accept a queen more readily than hungry bees. So we always try to feed in such a way that there'll be 0 robbing. If you cause robbing by feeding, your queen acceptance percentage just went down the tubes. So oh my goodness. Okay. And that's not all sugar syrup. It's got a little color to it, so they've been bringing a little bit of something in. Colonies are doing well this year, this fall. Lots of pollen been coming in over the last 2 weeks. I think and our mite numbers are fairly low, in some cases non-existent, so I think we're going to have some pretty good colonies going into winter. And these ones with a brand new queen especially. So what are the advantages and the disadvantages to fall requeening? And there's definitely pros and cons. Yeah, that's pretty full of honey too. The The pros are that if you get a good fall queen well accepted, if she's well mated, she's a nice queen, that is absolutely your very best chance of getting this colony through winter. It also will give you the very best honey producer next season. Brother Adam wrote about that in his book, Beekeeping at Buckfast Abbey. He would produce late summer queens, overwinter them in a nuke, and then requeen his production colonies with those, and he said those were always his very best producing colonies. It gives the queens a chance to get real mature, but they're, if you want to put it like this, they're low mileage queens. They're mature and they're ready to go next spring. And they will also give you less swarming than queens from the previous spring. But there's another fact about swarming, and that is that a queen from the previous year will always have a higher tendency to swarm than a queen from the current season. Even a fall queen will have a higher tendency to swarm than a spring queen the following season. So that's something to keep into consideration too. So that's the main advantage. One of the main advantages to spring requeening is that'll give you your lowest percentage of swarming. Some of the package producers I know in South Georgia always requeen in the fall because that gives them the very strongest colonies the next spring. That's a heavy colony too, so we might not fill the feeder all the way. We might just give it a half a feeder or something like that. I don't worry at all about that burr comb on top with that rim. This time of year, it's a non-issue. I don't worry about it at all. And then we have, so we're checking on 3 yards today for queens that we were introducing last Wednesday, today's Monday. And then after this, we're going to go check yards that we did the same routine to last week. So being 7 days later, we can check them and see who actually got accepted or not. I expect a very high percentage. Hope I'm not disappointed. A little smaller, huh?
Yeah, but not bad.
Not bad, no. I'm happy with that size.
Yeah,
I've mentioned several times over the years I don't really care for huge colonies going into winter. I have no need for them. I don't pollinate in California anymore. We're not making 1,500 packages in the spring anymore. I just don't need huge colonies. But you got brood against the second frame in,
yeah.
so.
Yep, it's beautiful. Oh, there's his son.
Larva looks very healthy. See if you can hold that flat for a moment. There's a hive beetle right there too.
Yep.
We don't have many hive beetles. When I look in these frames, they look very healthy. The larva is a pearl white color. There's no yellow at all. It's very glistening white. That's a sign of good health, good nutrition. These cells right here in the middle of this picture have larvae that are swimming in brood food. Big puddles of it. That is a sign of good nutrition. When you have young larvae that have kind of a dry cell, that's a sign of malnutrition. Of course, in this comb you can see lots of different pollen. They've been bringing it in for a couple of weeks. And you know, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, if we would have taken this same picture, we would have shown larvae that really didn't have much of a puddle in the cell. And now they're swimming in it, which is a really good sign. That good nutrition, getting ready for winter, is extremely important. And the bees are in the way, John.
Yeah. Too many bees.
Too many bees. Here's a drawback to fall requeening. If you're not successful, you don't have much time to fix the problem. Like if you're going to let them rear their own or something. I haven't seen any drones at all.
I was just going to point out, I saw a couple of drones in this one.
Did you?
Just a
Okay.
couple.
There's very few, so if a queen doesn't get accepted and you're trying to let the colony rear their own, this is a bad time of year to try to pull that off. Yeah, it can be done, and yeah, you can get mating done, but even if they do mate and their pattern looks good, if they're not mated with a lot of drones, you're probably looking at an early supersedure. This polyandry thing is very important in a colony, this mixture of genes. A good queen should mate with anywhere from, I don't know, 12 to 20 drones is what my understanding is these days, and sometimes even much more than that.
I was trying to move the brood over to the...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we try to move the brood nest closer to the feeder. At some point we'll start getting cool weather, and in October we'll give them the last feeder, and it's nice to have the brood nest kind of closer to the feeder at that time when it's cooler. That thing's got a bunch of food in it too, doesn't it?
Yes.
We're running into this in most of our yards. There's still a lot of food left over. This was an unusual year for us. They came out of the sourwood flow with more food in the bottom box than they normally do. Usually we have to worry about feeding them right away after the sourwood because we take all their food away when we take the honey supers away. But this year it wasn't that way. Every year's different. There's no such thing as normal when it comes to Mother Nature. There's just the average between the extremes. We got a 100% take in this small yard. So far, we're getting a very good acceptance rate with these colonies. So we did pretty good in this yard too. Wasn't 100%. We had one queen that didn't get accepted in this small yard. So we're still doing pretty good in my view. Good colonies here too.